tennis match between a nobody and a millionaire doesn't sound fair. But what happened on that court wasn't about fairness at all. Matteo wiped down tables at the country club 6 days a week. Every morning, the same routine. Polish the silverware, refill the water pitchers, smile at members who never looked back. The pay barely covered rent, but the job came with one perk nobody mentioned in the interview. Between shifts, when the courts sat empty, Matteo would grab a borrowed racket and practice his serve. He'd been playing since he was 7. Back then, it was on cracked public courts with a racket held together by duct tape. His coach, an old man who volunteered on weekends, saw something in him, told him he had natural talent, the kind you can't teach. But talent doesn't pay for tournament fees or private lessons. So while other kids his age were competing in junior circuits, Matteo was learning to balance trays and memorize wine lists. The country club courts were different. Pristine. Perfect. He'd never played on anything like them before. That's where Richard Castellano first noticed him. Castellano wasn't just rich. He was the kind of wealthy that makes regular millionaires feel poor. Made his fortune in real estate, owned half the buildings downtown, and had an ego that matched his bank account. He also fancied himself a serious tennis player. Took lessons 3 times a week, owned 12 custom rackets, wore outfits that cost more than Matteo's monthly salary. One Tuesday afternoon, Castellano walked past court 3 and stopped. Matteo was practicing alone, drilling forehands against the back wall with mechanical precision. Each shot landed within inches of where he aimed. Castellano watched for 5 minutes without saying a word. "You work here?" he finally called out. Matteo caught the ball and turned. "Yes, sir. Just on my break." "How long have you been playing?" 15 years, sir." Castellano's eyebrow raised. This kid couldn't be older than 22. "Ever play competitively?" "Not really. Some local stuff when I was younger." There was something in the way Castellano smiled that made Matteo's stomach tighten. It wasn't friendly. It was the smile of someone who just spotted an opportunity. "I have a proposition for you," Castellano said, stepping onto the court. "One match, you and me, this Saturday at noon." Matteo hesitated. Members didn't play with staff. It was an unspoken rule, like not parking in their spots or using their locker rooms. "If you win," Castellano continued, "I'll give you $50,000. Cash." The number hung in the air like a hallucination. 50,000. That was 2 years of salary. That was a way out. "And if I lose?" Castellano's smile widened. "You won't owe me anything. Except maybe a lesson in humility." 3 days wasn't much time to prepare, but Matteo didn't need it. He'd been preparing his whole life for a shot like this. What he didn't know yet was that Castellano had been preparing too, just not for tennis. Saturday arrived faster than Matteo expected. He showed up 30 minutes early, hands shaking as he gripped his borrowed racket. The courts were packed, not with members, with spectators. Castellano had invited half the club, turned a casual match into a public spectacle. Matteo felt every eye on him as he walked to the baseline. They didn't even warm up properly. Castellano won the coin toss, chose to serve first, and the match began. The first game lasted 12 minutes. Castellano's serve was decent, nothing special, but he played smart. Kept the ball deep, forced Matteo to generate his own pace. Matteo won it anyway, 6-4 in the first set. That's when things changed. Between sets, Castellano walked to his bag and made a phone call. Matteo couldn't hear what was said, but he noticed the shift immediately when play resumed. Castellano started questioning line calls, not aggressively, just enough to plant doubt. A ball Matteo called out, Castellano insisted was in. No line judges, no replay, just 2 people and conflicting realities. That was clearly in, Castellano said, walking to the net. Matteo knew it wasn't. He'd seen it land 3 inches beyond the line. But arguing with a member, especially one like Castellano, could cost him his job. "We'll replay the point," Matteo offered. Castellano's smile returned. "No need, I'll take the point." It happened 6 more times in the second set. Each time, Castellano claimed a ball was in when it wasn't, out when it was. Each time, Matteo had to choose between the truth and his paycheck. He started second-guessing himself, missing shots he'd make in his sleep. The second set slipped away. 6-3, Castellano. Third set. Everything on the line. Matteo was up 5-4, serving for the match, when he finally understood. This was never about tennis. It was about power, about a rich man reminding someone like Matteo exactly where he belonged. No amount of talent could change the fact that Castellano controlled the court, the calls, the entire situation. Match point. Matteo hit a serve down the tee. Perfect placement. Unreturnable. The ball caught the line by millimeters. He knew it. Castellano knew it. Everyone watching knew it. "Out," Castellano announced. The crowd went silent. Even they recognized the lie. Matteo stood there, racket hanging at his side, and made a choice. He walked to the net, extended his hand. "Good match," he said quietly. Castellano shook it, victory smeared across his face. "Told you." Lesson in humility. Matteo collected his borrowed racket and walked off the court. No 50,000, no way out, just the same job waiting for him Monday morning. But as he pushed through the clubhouse doors, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Someone in the crowd had filmed the whole thing, posted it online. The video was already going viral. Turned out the world had been waiting for someone to call out men like Richard Castellano. Sometimes you lose the match, but win something bigger. Within 48 hours, Matteo's phone wouldn't stop ringing. News outlets wanted interviews. Sports brands offered sponsorships. A former pro coach in Miami saw the video and reached out with an offer to train him, no charge. The country club fired him 3 days later, citing unprofessional conduct. Castellano never commented publicly, but his membership at 2 other clubs was quietly revoked after the video spread. Matteo didn't become a professional tennis player overnight. That's not how real life works, but he did get something Castellano's money couldn't buy. Proof that skill matters more than status, and that sometimes the biggest victories happen after you've already lost. 6 months later, he was competing in his first sanctioned tournament. The entry fee was paid by donations from people who'd seen that match and decided they wanted to see what happened next. Castellano still plays tennis at private courts where cameras aren't allowed. Matteo still practices every day, now on courts that actually belong to him. The borrowed racket sits in his apartment as a reminder that the game was never really about $50,000. It was about refusing to pretend the ball landed somewhere it didn't, even when telling the truth costs you everything.